Ladies and gentlemen, our last speaker this afternoon before the award celebrations has travelled all the way from Canberra to be with us today to celebrate the Assyrian New Year Festival. Her organisation has supported Assyrians not only physically but spiritually as well. Please welcome to the stage Mrs. Karen Boss of Christian Faith and Freedom.
Father Elia, Mr. Harmer Shahan, Mr. David, members of the Assyrian Universal Alliance, members of state and federal parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honour and a privilege and a tremendous pleasure to celebrate the beginning of the Assyrian New Year at this very significant time in Assyrian history. A new year is a powerful symbol of a new beginning, heralding in renewed hope for greater peace and prosperity. And this new year, of course, as we've all heard, coincides with a highly acclaimed decision by the Iraqi cabinet to agree in principle to the Assyrian autonomous homeland for which Assyrians have yearned for centuries. And great is the rejoicing. Like all people gathered here, Christian Faith and Freedom, a small human rights organisation based in Canberra, has stood in solidarity with Assyrians enduring intense persecution and struggling to survive in their ancestral land and in the neighbouring nations to which they have fled. We have all shared their grief and horror at the irrefutable evidence of past and present atrocities, researched by eminent scholars like Dr. Anahit Khosrova, Dr. Sabri Akman, and Dr. Diamandis, Director of the Australian Institute for Holocaust and Genocide Studies. We have viewed and reported on all these atrocities, including videos, horrific images of Christians being executed for their faith and ethnicity, evidence that is endorsed by personal testimonies of our own Iraqi supporters. But we have also shared joy, principally at Carmen's OAM, followed by the momentous news which I had the privilege of announcing at our recent conference regarding the establishment of the Assyrian Autonomous Province in Nineveh. This restoration is a tribute to all members of the Assyrian Universal Alliance and Assyrians throughout the world, to their dedication, integrity, professionalism, and natural warmth and considerable charm. They have stood united nationally and internationally in their passionate pursuit of justice and freedom in the face of hostility and indifference. And I think all Australians, and I speak very much for myself, can be proud of our state and federal members of Parliament who have used their authority and influence with wisdom and courage in the honourable pursuit of justice and freedom for all people, most especially the Assyrians. I think especially and pay tribute to the Honourable Chris Bowen, to the Honourable Philip Ruddock, to Senator the Honourable Conchetta Furvianti-Wells, to Mr. Chris Hayes MP, Mr. Craig Kelly MP, and the Reverend the Honourable Fred Nile MLC, whose recent motion in support of the Assyrian homeland in the New South Wales Legislative Council achieved the truly remarkable feat of uniting all parties in unanimous approval, a tribute to a righteous cause to which he and many others continue to be devoted and loyal advocates. The massacres and persecution of Christian and other minorities is the greatest human rights crisis of our time. The lack of effective response from the international community is the greatest moral challenge to every nation that regards itself as representing a civilized people. Exposure to unimaginable human rights violations underscores the imperative to defend the Christian concept of the intrinsic value of every human life on which Australian law is based. Nino Saron recently contributed a powerful presentation on the persecution of Assyrians in the biblical heartlands at our two-day Christian Faith and Conference last week. This year it was entitled Truth, the Guardian of Freedom, and I heartily endorse the call for freedom of respectful, analytical, honest speech. It is not only an indication or a demonstration of our liberty, it is also its guardian. Our conferences are a forum to make knowledge available of ideologies, both religious and secular, which promote and sanctify persecution, and to equip us all to preserve our God-given freedom in this land. On Iraqi soil, there is a deposit of Australian blood, shed in the cause of freedom and justice. And it's our prayer that ultimately this blood will not have been shed in vain. Under the leadership of our new National Director, Dr. Roy Barton, and one of Australia's leading religious liberty experts, Mrs. Elizabeth Kendall, we pledge our wholehearted support to this cause, to which we believe all Australians will respond wholeheartedly. We will do our utmost to rally member organisations of the Australian Coalition for the Persecuted Church to support the use of Australia's position on the UN Security Council to adopt a similar motion to that enshrined in Article 121 of the Iraqi Constitution. Many will remember the unveiling on the 17th of August 2010 of the Assyrian Genocide Memorial honouring 750,000 martyred Assyrians. I passed by that memorial again and it brought those memories back to mind. And I'd like to say that I've always wanted to extend to the Fairfield City Council my personal congratulations and gratitude for their courage in withstanding pressure to a very high level to prevent the memorial from being erected. Australia would have suffered a great loss in integrity if that pressure had been allowed to succeed. And I remember on that momentous day, and I've spoken about this in public before, returning to the memorial when the celebrations were over and the crowds had dispersed, to take a photograph of that memorial to illustrate an article I was writing for the Christian Faith and Freedom newsletter. And I was very disappointed because it was towards dusk and it was an overcast afternoon. And the memorial just looked so sad and desolate and deserted. But as I stood there and remembered the sacrifice of those amazing Christians who died for their faith all those years ago and are still dying since, there was a sudden break in the clouds and a brilliant shaft of light, like a laser beam from heaven, from the setting sun, struck the metallic surface of that memorial and turned it into pure gold. And in that split second I was able to capture it on film. I have never forgotten that because I look back on it now as a blessing from heaven, a foretaste, a promise of better things to come, of the light of Christ shining through all the darkness and bringing new life. In the challenging times ahead, the government and people of Iraq will be upheld in the Canberra House of Prayer for All Nations, where we have our small office. We are committed to pray that moral courage, wisdom and integrity will prevail, that Assyrian hope of freedom and justice will be realised in the proposed homeland, where they will, by God's grace, flourish and prosper in peace, to be an immeasurable blessing to the nation, as they are in Australia. Psalm 30 verse 5 assures us, "Weeping may remain for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Happy New Year 6764 to all our Assyrian brothers and sisters. May God bless you and everything you undertake in His name.
Thank you, Karen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before the conclusion of the program today, I would like to thank you sincerely on behalf of the Assyrian Universal Alliance and the Assyrian Australian National Federation, every one of you, for accepting our invitation and for the truly inspiring presentations by all speakers. We wish you all the best in your future endeavours and seek your continued support. We also wish to express our sincere appreciation to today's sponsors, our volunteers, the artists, the singers, the Committee of the Young Assyrians of the Assyrian Universal Alliance, students of the Assyrian Diklat School, of the Assyrian Australian Association, Mr. Simon Israel from M1 Media Productions, Miss Maureen Iramia for her decorations, and Mr. Walter Lolham, not only for photography, but I don't know how he's still standing, it must be on caffeine, for all the hard work that everyone put in till 6, 7 o'clock this morning. Some have not slept. Also, to Mr. George and Mrs. Shamir Badal for preparing all the costumes for the dance and drama groups. And last but not least, Mr. Yuhanna Khamas of the Assyrian Star Folkloric Dancing Group, who are doing such an amazing job in preserving our ancient culture through dance. Before we finish tonight, I would like to call upon Mr. Herman Shaheen to come to the stage to present the Assyrian Universal Alliance and the Assyrian Australian National Federation Awards for 2014. Mr. Shaheen.
Can I also call upon my colleagues, Mr. David and Mr. Simon Isavian, to come to the stage? And also, could I ask Mr. Guy Zengari MP, representing the Honourable Chris Bowen, to come to the stage as well? Thank you. It's my great honour to present this year 2 awards, the Friend of Assyria and the Australian Assyrian of the Year. Through the years, many people have dedicated their time, energy and resources to serve their community. The Australian Assyrian of the Year award is to honor persons who are making significant contributions and advocate their time, action, talents and dedication on behalf of the Assyrian community. It's our great honor to present this year's award to a well-known individual, Maestro Rabbi Alexander Shura Michalian.
Alexander Shura Michalian was born in Ukraine, Russia in 1930. The family immigrated to Iran in 1938. In 1980, Shura, his wife Lily, and his late daughter Sabrina immigrated to the United States of America and settled in Flint, Michigan. In 1998, the Michalians' final and permanent move has been to Sydney, Australia. Shura's parents placed him under the direction of 2 famous Russian musician professors, Mr. Wickman and Mr. Shedrov, at the School of Music in the city of Hamel, Belarus, to study classical violin. Rabbi Shura, when at the age of about 12, met the renowned Assyrian musician, the late Rabbi William Daniel, and in turn became a student of his. Since moving to Australia in 1998, Shura was invited by the Assyrian Church of the East, Bishop Marmil Isaiah, to help coordinate and train the church choir, to which he currently devotes much of his time and expertise. He prepared music programs for children and wrote scores of religious and national hymns. In a short period of time, he was able to establish a choral and instrumental group of approximately 60 children. The magnificent performance of these groups during the Assyrian festivals and national days were captured by the audience and the government official guests. The Assyrian community takes pride with the maestro Shura Michaelian, who not merely a master of music, but someone who has preserved and practiced what it truly means to be an Assyrian throughout his life, and has truly earned the title of Rabbi. Congratulations.
مجدي قاراجور القديم قد آها أورد آها شيتا آتورايت آها شيتا بيشي يولتا قرابي شورا ميخاليان قا خلمت تلويدي قا أمتن جو خقلت موسيقى من دانت تلوية جو إيران دانت تلوية جو أمريكا وهازران متخدن زودة من سريشن تلوية داها أطرا رابي بقدون خا تري خبرانو بقدون تانمو
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am not good speaker, but I can play violin, not bad. Miokram kalsak ashisha ninus ilia. Arche mukhibbe, miokram yakrata is gaddi yaqiri parliament. Miokram kayum gushma politikai, ushutasan shutafiatan untan atreka. Miokram hurmushahi. خلاب تكبرانا نات الرازة خيادة ولاية أطرايا برناس أستراليا بالأمتي مخبة أنا بن يقرانوهم أخونوهم أمتا شورا ميخاليان شلامت مريا هبا موخن شغدا يورا لي إديو خبليسا إيلي بجخ إطراني ورد لخاني طير بوقع خليا مرنا شوخ المريا مياكرا هرب الشاهين حبيت الرابع باسيم قدها أور شابرتها مقربالهم قلية حبيت باسيم برابع بتبايج خد خارج يدها يوم بريغة تاش إطرايا خبنيسا حلبتا آها خائقار وقدية وكبرزوية للمي خاليان إن شركت بكل أوديات الممتنعي وشتاسا هويتها ويا باسمتها إذا كانت منتها من ميقر ديفيد تكبران برايوت ممتنعات أطراد أستراليا روبا الزامت بجراش لي أنا بارخ لي وناطري كأمتنا أطرادها ختامة هو يبرخت شيتا خدتها مريا ناطر بنون أمتها مش إسلامة جدها بريتا مرخل نيسان زياخا هبت الروى باسيمي. Thank you.
Now can I call upon the Honorable Concetta Ferraventi Wells to come to the stage. Thank you. The Friend of Assyria Award was instated to individuals who have demonstrated over a significant period of time a substantial contribution, advocacy and services to the Assyrian community. The last time the Friend of Assyria Award was conferred in 2009 when it was presented to the Honorable Chris Bowen MP. This year the Friend of Assyria Award will be presented to a well-known individual in recognition of his valuable contribution and for outstanding commitment shown to the Assyrian community. It's my great honor to announce that this year's recipient is Reverend the Honorable Fred Nile, MLC.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the 1st of May 2013, Reverend the Honourable Fred Nile, MLC, Vice President of the Australian Christian Party, in a historically unprecedented move at the request of the Assyrian Universal Alliance, moved a motion at the Parliament of New South Wales Legislative Council recognising the Assyrian, Greek and Armenian genocide. And on the 20th of March 2014, another motion was raised by the Reverend Nile focusing on the Assyrian demands for the establishment of an autonomous province in the heart of the Assyrian ancestral lands in the Nineveh Plains in northern Iraq. Both motions were passed unanimously, seconded and endorsed by all parties in the House.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a great surprise to me, and I thank the organisers for considering me for this very important award. And I'd like to thank Herman Cheyenne and also David, who have been great friends and supporters of mine. And I'd like to share this award with them because it's through their efforts and information they provided to me and the work that they've done in the background that I've been able to move those motions. The motion last year to acknowledge the genocide of the Assyrians, the Armenians and the Pontius Greeks during the Ottoman Empire, and also to help me, after moving that genocide motion last year, to move the motion this year supporting the establishment of an Assyrian homeland in Iraq, which is historic because of the timing that the Iraq government, as you heard earlier, has only just agreed to establish 3 new provinces. I understand one of those could be a Kurdish province, one could be a Muslim province, and we're praying the 3rd province will be the Assyrian homeland province. So we need to pray earnestly to Almighty God as we celebrate the Assyrian New Year, that He will grace us with His power and might in leading the Iraq government to confirm that decision. And we'd like it to be done before the next election. We don't know, the new government may have different ideas, but the current government has made that a decision already to have 3 new provinces. So let's pray for God to bring about an amazing victory, to establish, after all these centuries, a homeland for the Assyrian people, especially a homeland for the Assyrian Christians that have suffered such terrible persecutions and genocide down through the centuries. So thank you again for considering that award, but the award should go to Herman Cheyenne and David. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the conclusion of the official program. I'm just going to ask the Honourable Reverend Fred Nile, MLC, to declare officially the opening of the Assyrian New Year Festival 6764. Get ready to dance and party.
It's my great pleasure to declare open the Assyrian New Year 6764 for this year. Thank you all for coming. God bless you.
Yes.